right, it's Monday. TGIM. Thank goodness it's Monday. Back at it again in the stock market. God, those weekends seem long. Pitiful. Pretty soon here, they're going to have I wouldn't be surprised if they have 24-hour, 7 days a week trading like they do in crypto, the stock market. Can't wait for that. Actually, no, it's probably nice to have a day off. You can kind of clear your head and get a fresh start. So anyway, today we're doing our first day. It's opening day of our new project where we're going to be taking a look at what I'm calling Fury Road trade. And apparently, this theater that I go to down here, the Beverly Theater, is down in Los Angeles. It's like this old theater that they're going to tear down, and then Quentin Tarantino stepped in and saved the day, and he turned it into his own movie theater, basically, where he plays a lot of his own movies and a lot of classic movies, like movies you don't really see that much or ever, at least projected real 35 millimeter print on the screen. And this next month I saw that I was looking at the schedule, they're going to be playing Fury Road down there. So if any of you live in the LA area or are going to be around here or just want to come traveling across the country, and we can go see it. We'll go watch Fury Road together. Maybe, who knows, maybe we'll see Quentin Tarantino there, get his autograph. Actually, I heard that he's kind of really weird about taking photos with people. I think he gives autographs, but somewhere I read or heard that he refuses to take photographs with his fans, which is, well, all right. Whatever. Anyway, so here we go. So this is the opening day of our Fury Road trade. Now this trade, it seems to be getting more popular now. I kind of see more people talking about it. And there's a lot of different names for it, like the 321 or whatever. Some name made out of numbers, or the I don't know. Anyway, it's out there. I think Tasty had a lot to do with kind of making it popular. They have a name for it. It's either like the Gecko Lizard, the Lizard trade, or the scrambled eggs or something. I don't know. If you guys know what these names are, just go ahead and put them in the comments down there. I'd love to see them. Anyway, so we're going to put our first one on here. This is a trade that I don't really endorse. I've never really traded it, but I'm just looking at, I've traded similar structures that are similar to this and much safer, I think. They're just much more hedged and they have kind of built-in protection. This essentially is it's a naked put strategy. You sell naked puts and then you put a little bit of a put debit spread on there to kind of mask that it's really just a naked put trade. No, apparently they call it a hedge, but if you haven't seen my video I made on this, I put together a 30-minute video where I kind of break down why I'm not crazy about this trade and the dangers that I see in it. So if you get a chance, go over and watch that video. Here's what the thumbnail looks like. Go check it out and you'll see how I kind of go in depth. I kind of dive in as to what could happen in a crash type scenario with that trade. And it's essentially just a naked put trade. So if you're comfortable trading naked puts on the SPX or on whatever underlying you're going to trade this on, this would be a fine strategy for you. There's a little, if you're fine with trading a naked put strategy with a little tiny bit of a hedge, just a little bit, a little sliver, this might be right up your alley. But it is kind of cool and it's different, and it's like I said before, it looks very similar to my core bread and butter strategy. So I wanted to give this a shot. A lot of folks in my newsletter were asking about it, so I thought, why not just do a monthly project on it where I'll start to trade it, see how it works, just kind of record the whole thing so everyone can watch, and then maybe see if there's a way to tweak it so that it's actually safe for trade than it is as it exists. Then maybe we can tweak it or morph it or whatnot, kind of turn it more into the trade that I would be comfortable with, and that's more like the one that I trade, which is this one here. So anyway, let's go ahead and put this trade on. We're going to put the fresh trade on with real money in a real account. And let's start off by just going over to the option chain here. So this is SPX, the option chain. And again, I'm using the parameters I'm using to build this as part of the training that I've learned in a really cool group community of option traders. And if you're interested in this trade and you want to learn more about how to trade this, reach out to me and I can point you right to these guys. They have a lot of experience. They're cool. They're fun. They have a great community. And if you're interested in trading this particular strategy, and they have several other similar type strategies to these, just reach out to me, email me, or leave a comment below, and I'll get back to you and I'll point you in the direction of these guys. Even though I don't necessarily recommend this strategy, I recommend them. They have a lot of experience. They're cool. They're fun. It's just a personal thing. I'd rather do this trade, which is similar with a lot more protection. And if you're interested in learning this trade as well, reach out to me and I can point you in that. It's two different groups. There's a group that teaches this Fury Road trade I can point you towards if you want to go that direction, or if you want to go the other route where I'm at, they have a great community as well, amazing community. and you can learn this more souped up, well protected, more like a battle trade, battle ready trade. Anyway, so let's get into that. So this is the way that I'm learning from this group, this trade that I'm calling the Fury Road trade. So what they do is they say, go to the option chain. So this is SPX, and they trade these on the SPX. They trade it on the ES, the MES, so futures or indexes. You can trade it on stocks as well, but I'm just going to stick with the SPX here for this one. So we go to the option chain here. We go down and look for 50 days. So let's look at the options that expire in 50 days from now. So we're at 30, 40. So we have a 56 right here. So let's select that, the closest we can get to 50. I guess there's a 49 here. Let's do the 49. That's just one day under. So we'll go to the 49, and then we look for, we're going to first place a put debit spread. We're going to look for our put debit spread with the strikes that, we want the long strikes of the put debit spread to be at a 30 delta. So here we are right here, the 46.70. You can see the 30 delta there. So we're going to say analyze by trade, and then vertical. We're buying a put debit spread, and we're going to make the width of the put debit spread 50 points wide. So if we're buying the 46.70, that means that we need to sell, what do we need to sell? 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. So the 620. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 50 points wide. And let's just take a look at that on the risk graph. So here's that trade. You can see it's a bearish trade. Total risk on this part of the trade is 970, and the total profit potential up here is 4,025. But this is just the first part of this trade, the first of two parts. So now let's go and apply the second part of the trade. So we'll go back to the same option chain, same D's, TE, same days to expiration. And we're going to go down and we're going to look at the 6 delta. So let's look for the 6 delta right here. And essentially what we're trying to do is we're trying to get double the credit from the naked puts. We're going to sell naked puts now. We're trying to get double the credit for the naked puts that this cost us. So if this cost us $975, then we're looking to get a credit of around 2 times that. So just rough math, let's just say a credit of around 2,000. So if we come here, we can see that the 6 delta, we can get credit of about 790-ish. So times 2, that's not quite double. So let's get a little more aggressive, and let's just say, we could probably do this one here. Like, let's say 10. Yeah, that'll probably work. So let's sell this, and we're going to sell 2 of these. So we're selling 2 naked puts at around a 6 delta, but we can decide, we can change that, or we can edit that or tweak it so that we get the credit we want. And ultimately we're looking to get a credit, bring in a credit that combined, 2 of together, will be twice the cost of this put debit spread, which is 975. So this does that. So let's take a look at the risk graph on this. So there's the trade. And right now we are, I'm going to move this down to 10%, this brown vertical line. So that's 10% down. Here's where SPX is trading right now. And then this is 10% up. So in this situation, just as it sits, this is showing that we'll have, if we place this trade and get these numbers, we'll bring in to this upper side. There's only risk to one side, and that's the downside. There's no risk whatsoever to the upside. And if it trades anywhere from this little corner right there up, and we take it all the way to expiration, we'll make a total profit of 1,005. Like if we just let this thing expire, worthless. So 1,005 all the way up. If it comes down here and it expires in this tent area, we can make up to the top of that is 6,005. So let's just say $6,000. So we have 1,000 here. If it kind of backs down in here and winds up trading on expiration day in this tent area here, we can make up to 6,000, and then our risk is unlimited on the downside. And that's what I don't like about this trade. And again, if you want to see, I break it down exactly why that is, what the dangers are in this trade, what we need to be watching out for while we're trading this. And you can just look for a video with this thumbnail on it right here. Just go back and do a search for that. But that's I did a deep dive as to what the problems that I see with this trade, or at least the potential hazards we need to be aware of and be looking out for while the trade's on. So here we go. So here's the trade. Now let's just do a couple of quick rules. So we're going to place the trade, get the best credit that we can in this area, and then we're just going to let it run. And there's several things that are selling points of this trade, which are, it's extremely simple and easy to put on. It's like a very simple mechanical trade. You don't need to know how to read charts or how to do technical analysis. You can just put them on at the same time every month or every week. There's no fancy like Fibonacci special chart reading magic tricks that you need. It's just a very simple, easy to do trade. You can just put on pretty much anytime you want. It can be scaled. You can do it in a fairly small account with like one contract, but you can also scale it up as big as you want to go. It has a super high win rate. It's a high probability trade, and most of the trades you do will wind up winning. There is risk only on one side. There's no risk to the upside when these are placed. The only risk on these will be to the downside. And there's also like different ways you can win. There's different ways you can tweak it and adjust it. You can do different things. It can handle pretty much any type of market condition. And overall, it's just a very simple, easy, consistent, high probability trade. So those are the pros. The cons are, it's just this downside here. And again, I'll just direct you towards my other video where I really break it down, like what could happen if there was a sharp move down and the danger that presents. Basically, this is a Vega negative trade. You can see that we have a Vega in this position of minus 412. So in a quick sharp down move, the volatility is going to pop up, which is going to make this pink line, this is the 0-day line, it's going to make this pink line sink even lower. So let's just say it was a crash down to 10% and it was too fast for us to manage. And so if it drops, we have a total loss right now on that pink zero. That's the 0-day line. That's today. At 10% down, we're showing a loss of 23,502, which is horrible. I wouldn't want to get out of bed if that happened. But it gets worse because volatility would absolutely go up in a down move like that. And we can kind of get an idea of the volatility right here. So let's just tick it up. Now watch this pink line. So this is the pink line if it were to come down 10% today with no rise in volatility, which is that's ridiculous. Of course, there's going to be some pop. If it was a quick sharp move down, there'd be a big fast pop in volatility. So the best case scenario is that there's no volatility rise whatsoever, and at 10% down, we're down 23,430. So let's just raise the volatility up and keep your eye on this pink line as I tick this volatility up. You can see as the volatility rises, that pink line sinks. It gets lower and lower. That's just the effect of this that the negative Vega trade has. So this is at a 5% pop in volatility. It would be more than that. Let's just go to 10%. And I can't just type the number in there for some reason. Okay, so here's a 10% pop in volatility. But so in a 10% pop in volatility, 10% down, instead of the 23,000 or whatever it was a second ago, we're down 36,564. So a lot more. And let's look at right where we're at. So if there's a 10% pop in volatility right where we're at currently, we would lose 6,653 just from the volatility alone. Not from no movement whatsoever, just from the volatility. Let's take this back to, I wonder if I can just zero out. For some reason, Thinkorswim isn't letting me just type in a number down there. Okay, so there's 0. So today, you can see that where we're currently at right now today, we're pretty basically break even. We're down 12 bucks on this position. But just that pop in volatility to 10, there we go, 10%. We're just instantly down 6,615. So anyway, just check out my other video. I go into depth as to the what the whole problem with this is, or the problem that I see with it, and why it's not my favorite trade. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to give it the benefit of the doubt, and we're going to just go ahead and trade it live with real money. Just kind of get a feel for it, and then see if I can see if we like it. And then if we do like it, then see if there's a way to protect us from this big sharp, waterfall down. All right, so let's go ahead and place this trade. And just a couple of quick parameters are the way that these guys are teaching it in this community where I'm at, that I highly recommend. They are setting a stop loss, like a manual stop loss, at 1 times the highest credit they get in the trade. So this is the highest credit up here, 6,000. So they have a stop loss at 6,000. So if the market meandered down, came down to around here, 6,000, and they were able to, in a sharp move, they may not be able to, but if they were able to, that's where their stop loss is at. Manual stop loss at 6,000. And then they basically just take the trade into expiration. And they do a couple of other things too that we'll kind of get into over the coming days as we're doing this live. But some things they can do is once the naked puts have evaporated in value, like the time value has come out of those naked puts to a certain amount, like say 90%, 80 to 90%, they can remove those. They can just entirely remove those naked puts just by, buying those two back. And they would wind up with a put debit spread, but a put debit spread that very likely has no risk whatsoever. This whole thing would shift up because we've taken the profits out of these two naked puts. So we just cash in the naked puts and this whole thing rises up. So we're left with a put debit spread where this blue line very likely could be above the 0-day line. So it's like a free trade. And it's a free hedge. If the market were to crash, these could reach the full amount, but it wouldn't be enough, as we've seen before, to offset a big loss here, right? But it's kind of cool to be able to, kind of morph a trade into taking out the two puts once you've milked most of the credit out of them, and then winding up with a free trade just kind of sitting there like for a worst case scenario. And there's also some other cool tricks that they do, like stacking these things, like placing them on top of each other like once a week, basically just entering a new trade, a new one of these every single week. And then after so many weeks, that first one's going to come to fruition and it's going to mature and you get the money. So at that point, it's like maybe like a 4 to 6 week build-up period where you're putting one of these on every single week. You put one on this week, you put one on next week, you put one on the next week. Do that for like 6 weeks. And by the time you're at the 6th week or 7th week, that first one is now expiring. So you kind of take the money off. And then if you do it that way, like a campaign mode, at some point after 6 or 7 weeks, you could potentially a scenario where you're just pulling in income every month. Like in this case, potentially whatever this credit is. Up here, if it stayed up here, 1,000, so maybe $1,000 a week after these are all rolling. But you got to remember, you now have like 5 or 6 of these on, and that risk is 5 or 6 times as well. So there's that kind of a cool idea. Another thing that they do is sell some naked calls up here above if there's a run up right away after you put one of these on, and turn this whole thing into a strangle. That's kind of a cool idea. And there's a bunch of other things too, and we'll just get into them as we follow this trade. Now another variation of this trade is just selling one naked put instead of 2. So that's like this. But as you can see, the credit that we bring in with 2 is 2 times the cost of that put debit spread, which gives us profit no matter what, if it goes up or stays where it's at or goes down a little bit. In this case, the profit is only $15. So that's not so cool. However, there's always the opportunity or the potential opportunity that this thing will kind of back into here and maybe we'll get some out of this. And also this pink line, there's this weird effect on these trades I call it the bow effect. And over time, even though it looks like there's like the blue line is the final day of expiration and the pink line is kind of right on top of it. If you tick this forward, you'll see this pink line start to rise up a little bit. The blue line stays where it's at the $15 or $10, which is not very much. But this pink line will start to kind of raise up and rise. It's like the magic bow. It's like a bow effect. And if I tick forward here, you can see it occur. See that? See how that pink line is kind of rising right there? So at that point, this is about 2 weeks away. And if it stayed right where it's at, because of this bow effect, you could have the potential to get a profit of 512, which is not too shabby. So the bow effect is cool. And I've seen traders do similar types of trades. This is very similar to a broken wing butterfly or a broken wing condor, where traders will place trades, like consistently place trades where it looks like there's no credit at all. It's either a break even or it's a very small amount, like $20 or something, or maybe like 100. And at first glance, if you didn't understand the bow effect, that thing I just showed you how that thing will rise up, you kind of think like, well, what's the point of this trade? This is just a waste of time. But that bow effect does happen. And starting off in a position like this is a little bit safer than having a big credit here. And that's the other thing too. The other thing is that you can change the width of this put debit spread. You could move it closer to the back. Let's just kind of try that for a second. Let me get rid of that one. Let's go back to 2. So we're selling 2. Now let's just say, what if we sold, instead of buying this put debit spread, what if we instead bought a put debit spread that was further out of the money? So let's just say 4,500 and then 4,550. We'll keep it 50 wide, this one, just for example purposes. So you can see that brings in a little bit more credit, but you can also see the pink line, the delta is a little steeper on this. So on a down move, you'd get into pain quicker. And the maximum profit up here is a little bit more, like about $300 it looks like. And the max and the credit up here, if it stays up here, is about $300. Let's just see, for example purposes, if we were to change the width from 50 wide, a 50 wide put debit spread to 25 point wide. So that cost us less. So now we have the ability to make 1,600 all the way up, no matter what happens. And in this area, we make 4,195. So there's trade-offs to all of this. And just as one last example, let's do one where there's like this. You can fatten up this tent. Again, with this now, we've gone 100 points wide. There's a 100 point wide put debit spread there. And we're showing a $55 loss at expiration. But don't forget the bow effect. Let's just look at the bow effect real quick. There's the bow effect coming into play. You can see that's up to $1,000 right there just from that bow effect. And it's also helping on a downside move. It's kind of getting ahead of a potential downside move. But as you can see, this is fatter now. So our total maximum profit in this tent area is now 9,940 if it were to come in here. And pretty much minus 70 here, except if there's the bow effect. So there's just a bunch of different ways. This is really tweakable, really flexible. A lot of different ways you can construct this thing or add things to it to meet what you're trying to accomplish, which is what I'm kind of excited about, as well as to, we'll just trade this as it is, which we're going to do first. We're going to trade the strategy as it exists from these guys who created it, who run that community that I can point you toward if you'd like to find out more or get involved with them. But I'm also looking forward to, after I trade it as it exists right now, their style, trying some of my own little tricks that I use in my other trades, my main bread and butter trades that are similar to this, but there is a massive difference in the risk control. Those are hedged in such a way with the built-in hedge where if there were a massive crash, they could cash in huge and make way more than I could ever hope to get in these areas. And I can just sleep better at night too. Sleep like a baby, not worrying about waking up to a big 10% down move in the SPX. So that's it. This is the first day of this. Let me just put this trade on live real quick, and then we'll just kind of follow along with it and see how it progresses and kind of explore some of the other cool things that these guys in this community taught me, and that can teach you too. If you'd like to get involved with them, just let me know and I'll introduce you. So let's go ahead and start with, let's just buy the put debit spread first. Let's just make sure and see what our pricing is again right now. So about $1,000 is what we're getting here. So let's go ahead and, so we'll say create duplicate order. We'll buy this. Let's see if we can get 970. So we can save a few pennies there. Probably not, but hey, it's worth a try, right? So I don't want to wait around too long. Of course, when you're placing trades like this, you can wait as long as you want and try to get the exact price you want, and you may miss it, but I don't want to take too much time today. I don't have time to fart around. So we'll try 975. So we get filled at that. So we got filled at 975. And let's just lock that in, 975. Oh, 975. Okay, so we got our put debit spread on, and now we'll sell our two naked puts down here, and let's see if we can get a little bit more than that. Let's see. So we'll say create duplicate order. So it looks like, well, we can try 10, but don't count on it. Well, what do you know? We got filled at 10. Okay, so there we go. There's our position. We're on. We're off and running. This is a 50-day. There's 49 days to expiration on this. If we decide to take this all the way to expiration, it's about 50 days. So, which is like just under 2 months. So there it is. There she goes. She's off and running. Everything looks cool. And day one for our Fury Road trade. All right, so that's it for this one. If you'd like to learn more about this trade and the community where I learned it and the guys who created this strategy and are teaching it and who have a really great options trading community that I highly recommend, you can just go ahead and reach out to me and I'll introduce you to them. And if you'd like to learn my main bread and butter trade that I'm doing, this one, which is similar to this but different. That's a whole separate community, an instructor and teacher, and this is my kind of like my main go-to guide. If someone were to ask me for a recommendation on a strategy or a program or a community or a teacher or training, this would be undoubtedly it. This is sort of like the gold standard. This is the creme de la creme. What does creme de la creme mean anyway? I should ask ChatGPT. Yeah, there we go. Let's see. My new assistant. Let's say, what does creme de la creme mean? Creme de la creme is a French phrase that literally translates to cream of the cream in English. It is used to describe something or someone as the very best, the top of a particular group, the highest quality. That's what this is. The phrase is often used to convey that something is of a superior quality or prestige. For example, if you say a school is in the creme de la creme, it means it's one of the best schools. So, yeah, so my number one recommendation for a community, for a strategy, for a training course, for an instructor is the trade that I call the Grail Trade. And like I've said before, this is like, you've never seen anything like this. I thought I've seen everything. I've done tons of courses, learned tons of strategies, and this is just above and beyond anything else that's out there. So if you'd like to get hooked up with them or learn more about what they have about him and his course and his community, just reach out to me directly and I'll also introduce you to him. So either way you want to go, I can introduce you to these guys. So that's it for today. If you'd like to follow along with me on these trades, just make sure that you're subscribed to my YouTube channel below. Just hit that subscribe button. And you can also join me on my website. Just go to my website. I'll leave a link to my website in the description below. Just go over there, sign up for my free email newsletter, and you'll get a welcome email from me. And just reply back to that welcome email and say, hook me up, or tell me about the Fury Road Trade, or where can I learn the Fury Road Trade, or tell me about this creme de la creme training program that you're talking about, and I'll hook you up. All right, that's it for today. See you next time.